Hey, welcome back. Now, we've just implemented jumping and a ground check. And in this video, we're going to notice an issue with our jumping. Specifically, we're going to take a look at how we can double jump, or what's also known as air jumping. We're going to prevent air jumping in this video as a challenge so that our rectangle can only jump when on the ground. Let's get started. So we have our program, and I'm going to hit run and start debugging so we can view this issue that I'm talking about. So here's our rectangle, and I'm going to hit space, and we can jump no problem. But if I hit space multiple times, then I can jump while I'm in the air, which is a mechanic known as air jumping or double jumping. So this is an issue. We only want to jump when we're on the ground. So this is your challenge. You're going to prevent air jumping. You're going to create a Boolean. Let's call it is in air. And this Boolean should be true when the rectangle is in the air and false when the rectangle is not in the air. We've already created a ground check, so we know when the rectangle is on the ground versus in the air. So set this value in the ground check. Now we only want to jump when is in air is false. When is in air is true, then we can apply the change in velocity with a space key press. Pause the video and implement this change to prevent air jumping. So here we are in our program. Now I'm going to scroll up to the top just under rectangle dimensions, and I'm going to add a Boolean called is in air. So bool is in air. And I'm going to use braced initialization so that it starts off with a default value of false. Let's give this a comment saying is the rectangle in the air. Now we have our ground check down here. And we know that the rectangle is on the ground in the if body, so we can set this Boolean is in air equal to false. And in the else, the rectangle is in the air, so we can set is in air to true. Now, when we're changing the velocity with a key press, we have an if check, which will fail when the key has not been pressed, but it can also fail based on our Boolean. We can use an and here. And since we only want to jump when is in air is false, we can do this one of two ways. We can do it by comparing is in air to false, like this, or we can use the negation operator, which is a bit more clean and concise. When we use the negation operator on a variable like this, it's read as not is in air. So this if check will succeed if is key pressed returns true and not is in air is true. In other words, is in air is false. Let's go ahead and run this. So run and start debugging. And I'm spamming the space key, and I'm only getting a jump once the rectangle hits the ground. Now this is a pretty weak jump. So before we wrap this up, I'm going to go ahead and give ourselves a bit more jump velocity. So let's close this out. And instead of hard coding a value of 10, I think I'd rather create a variable for the jump velocity. So I'm going to go all the way up, and just under is in air, I'm going to add another variable. So the comment will say jump velocity, and this will be a const int because we don't plan on changing the jump velocity throughout the life of the program. I'm going to call this jump vel, and I'm going to initialize it to negative 22. I'd like it to be a negative value since the negative y direction is upward. And now when we update the velocity with our key press, we can use plus equals to add our variable jump vel. So we're adding a negative value, which is the same as subtraction. Now, just so it's clear what we're doing here, I'm going to add a comment that says jump check. Now, if we hit run and start debugging, we can jump, and our jump is a little bit more powerful. Now you can tweak the value of jump vel if you want to jump higher or lower, but I think this looks pretty good. Okay, so in summary, in this video, we created a variable jump vel for the jump velocity. We made this negative so that we could add jump vel whenever we want to jump. We created a Boolean called is in air, and this Boolean is true when the rectangle is in the air and false when it's not. And we prevented jumping while in the air using this new Boolean value. We used the negation operator, although you could have used the comparison operator and compared is in air to false. Either solution would work. Great job! We now have a solid jumping mechanic for our game. Next, we'll get into drawing a character rather than a plain old rectangle and talk about how we can start animating that character. I'll see you in the next video.